Welcome back to my channel for my weekly Human Design Transit Report, where we look at the journey of the Sun and the Earth through the Human Design Mandala. And today is President's Day in the United States. It's February 21st. So the current transit that we're in now started last Saturday on February 19th. You can see the configuration here. I did talk just a little bit about this in my last week's transit report. I'm going to speak a bit more to our current transit, and then we have another shift coming up on this Thursday, February 24th, and I'll be diving into that today as well. So the Sun is now in the gate 55 and the Earth is in the gate 59. We're continuing our journey through the emotional solar plexus. The 55 is also on the emotional solar plexus, as have been the gates that the Sun has gone through over the last few weeks. So we're continuing to look at our emotional energy. And the 55 is known as spirit in traditional human design and as faith in quantum human design. It's an emotional energy and it is part of the knowing circuit. The knowing circuit is individual energy. So this is about our own individual relationship with faith or with spirit and with abundance in particular, kind of this sense that we will have what we need when we need to have it. So this is not a version of abundance that is about accumulation and hoarding and greed and having more that we need. Quite the contrary, it's absolutely the opposite, where we have this faith that we will have what we need when we need to have it, and that we are emotionally committed to feeling that way and knowing that we're going to get what we need, and that because the knowing circuit is plugged directly into superconsciousness, that we're going to be getting the guidance that we need whenever we need it. Reminds me of the story of mana, of having the amount of mana that you need for every day and that you don't need to store it. You'll have extra on the 6th day so that you'll have enough for the 7th day. But otherwise, every single day, you'll have as much as you need. And this is very connected also to the energy of the gate 59, which is what the Earth is lighting up. The 59 is tribal energy, and in traditional human design, it's known as sexuality, and it's been renamed as sustainability in quantum human design. And in this way, it is connected to the energy of the 55, because sustainability means that we will have as much as we need, and we don't need to have more than that, and that we maybe sometimes can get by with a little less than, optimal, but we can be sustainable by having what we need when we need it, and that we don't have to be in this place of having more than what we need. Both of these are a big break from the way that we've been taught in Western culture, which is really based on accumulation, because Western culture is based in the notion of colonialism and imperialism, which is always about taking more that you need and accumulating so that you can have a hierarchy of wealth and a hierarchy of power. And so both of these are kind of unraveling these notions of hierarchy of the goods, right? That some people are going to have more, that they're going to hoard those things, that they're going to lord them over others. And instead say, no, actually, if we tune in, we have what we need when we need to have it. And that when we do that, we can be sustainable. And we do not need to take more from the earth than the earth has to give to us. Now, it's interesting that the 59 has been made into sustainability because the 59 is on the sacral center. The sacral center is the center for pure life force energy, and it is associated with a sex and sexuality, just as it's associated with work and engagement, because it is this power life force energy which likes to engage in sex and in work. And so the sustainability of that sexual energy of being able to provide for our tribe, because this is a tribal energy, right? It's for the people who are close into us. It's for our family. It's for the people that we work with. It could be for the people immediately in our communities, the people that we consider part of our tribe. And so we're using this primary life force energy to make sure that everybody has what they need when they need to have it, but that we don't have to go overboard with it. I think both of these are such a good learning for us because we tend to think, if some is good, more is better. If more is good, even more than that is better. And this leads us to a lot of problems, like in our culture. I mean, we eat too much, we drink too much, we watch too much television, we take too much out of the earth, we just overdo it. I mean, if you just look at the amount of stuff that are in storage units these days, right? Or the amount of things that you have in your life. I don't know if this happens to you, but as however much I clear out in my house, more just keeps coming in. And so how do we minimize that and shift that patterning that we have around accumulating? I think this is one of the banes of so-called wealthier countries. And we are wealthier because we have accumulated more and we extract more out of the earth. And that's not necessarily a good thing. That kind of wealth is not sustainable. So we are moving into a new reality where we need to be reminding ourselves and using that intuition that we get from the knowing circuit that we have what we need when we need to have it, and that we have faith in that spirit is going to provide that for us, and that we can really shine that understanding out into the world, especially when we're grounded in that energy of the 59, which is about sustainability. It's about we've got this foundation of fundamental prosperity of this powerful life force energy that, yes, can express itself in sex and sexuality and having children and raising children and bringing up a tribe and making sure that the tribe has everything that it needs. It's a lot about provision, really. And so when we have that, we don't need to be getting things that are genuinely not of use to us. I mean, think about the last time that you went and purchased something that you never used. This happens to people a fair bit. I've managed to reduce this significantly, and yet I still catch myself when I'll purchase something and I will never use it. Sometimes we do this with, learning programs. Sometimes we do it with clothing, foods. There's all kinds of things, books that we don't read. So during these days, while these energies are transiting, this is a really good time for you to have one of those, heart-to-heart conversations with yourself about what is it that you really need, and unpack any conditioning that we have about needing more and needing more and needing more. One place to look at for this is if you buy something just because it's on sale. I know that can be super compelling. I have to watch myself with that too. It's like, oh, it's on sale. Unless it's something that I would have purchased anyway, then I won't get it. So check that out for yourself. There are always ways that we can contribute to being more sustainable. I know this is a check that we do in our household on a regular basis is what do we really need? My kid goes around turning off lights after me all the time because they're like, we don't need that light on. I'm like, I'm going to go right back in there. It doesn't matter. We don't need that light on during that time. So looking for yourself is how can you help all of us and be more sustainable? And the best place to look for this is right in your own home and in your own behavior. Then on Thursday, February 24th, the sun is going to move into the gate 37 and the earth is going to move into the gate 40. Now the gate 37 is also on the emotional solar plexus. So again, we're continuing moving through our emotional energy here. And the 40 is on the will center, which is part of the heart center, or it's known as the ego or the will center. And the two of them create a full channel. So now we're going to have the will center and the emotional solar plexus defined. Also, we've got the 6124 defined up here, which is defining the head and the ajna. And Uranus is still in the 24. It's been there for a while, but now Mars and Venus have moved into the 61. And Mars and Venus have been moving side by side through the human design mandala for about 6 weeks. I think I'm going to do a little just Mars and Venus little video. You can put down in the comments below if you're like, yes, I'd love to see a Mars and Venus video. And that'll give me a little more impetus to go ahead and do that. But they are in the 61 right now, so we've got a defined head and a defined ajna coming up during this transit as well. One of the things that means is that if you have an open will and an open emotional solar plexus like I do, is that they will be defined for you during this transit so that you'll have more access to the centers as well as the particular gates. The same will be true with the head and the ajna. Most people have an open head and ajna, so you may notice that you have access to more of the qualities of those defined centers. If you want to know more about the quality of those defined centers, you can get my Transform Your Life with Human Design ebook. It's a full color 75-page ebook that covers all of the centers. It also covers all of the types, the strategies, authority, gives it a really fundamental basis in human design, and it also helps you to take what you learn in that book and apply it to your own human design. And it'll tell you what the qualities of those 4 centers that are now defined are, which will be particularly interesting for you if they're usually open in your chart. Like for me, they're all open in my chart. So I'm going to go check that out during this transit. So the gate 37 in traditional human design is known as friendship or friendliness, and in quantum human design is known as harmony. And as I said, it's on the emotional solar plexus, so it's an emotional energy, and it has to do with our desire to connect with others. It's a tribal energy. It's part of the tribal circuit, and it's half of the channel of the bargain, and it's all about contracts and agreements. And then the 40, which is where the earth is lighting up, is known as loneliness in traditional human design or restoration in quantum human design. And together they create this channel of the bargain or this agreements channel. It's all about how do we come together and make decisions together harmoniously to create agreements that work for everyone. That's really its highest expression. So this emotional energy of harmony or friendliness or friendship is inviting us to find ways to be together that really work for all of us. I feel like this is very connected to pillar number 7 of feminine sovereignty, which is mutually beneficial collaborations. That is what this channel is all about, and certainly what this gate is about. How are we as a tribe or as a community? How do we know what's really going to be working for all of us, and how do we find that harmony? The gate 40, I'm so glad that Karen renamed this restoration, because one of my best friends has the gate 40 as her main gate, and she didn't really identify with loneliness at all. But when we talked more about this restoration, which is really about being able to withdraw from the tribe for a while in order to replenish and to restore and to make sure that you're taking care of yourself. Because if you're one of those people who is always engaging with helping to come up with agreements that work for everyone, and that people who have the 4037, I mean, this is something that I see and defined in people's charts a lot. When you have that, you're going to be involved in agreements and negotiations on a regular basis, whether they're subconscious or more conscious. And so it's good to be able to also take time away from all of that negotiating and figuring things out with people and making sure that everybody gets on the same page and creating harmony and all of that, so that you can really replenish yourself inside of your own energy. Let's also remember that the will center or the ego center, its mantra is to work to rest. So it is a engine like the emotional solar plexus. So we've got 2 engines that are defined here. But it works to rest. It's not at all like the sacral, which is just kind of an infinite amount of energy, just keeps going as long as we take care of ourselves. The will center really needs time to rest. The emotional solar plexus is a pretty consistent energy in the sense that people who have it defined in their charts are always going to have some kind of emotional tone. And that emotional energy is always available to any one of us, because we use emotional energy a lot to create, right? We use it as a kind of power to give our intentions that extra oomph that they need because we're giving it this positive anticipation about this manifesting in our life, right? And that energy is pretty much always available to us, but the will center energy is not so much. And so when you've got that, then it also needs to restore, it also needs to rest. But when it's together here in this channel, there really is this focus on agreements and contracts, understandings. So this is a good time for you to be kind of looking at, are there unspoken agreements that are maybe not working for you in your life? Because the shadow of this is believing that other people should do things your way or should do things the way that you think is obvious that they should be done, but never speaking it out loud and then getting annoyed with them or punishing them, either overtly or covertly because they're doing things differently than the way that you think that they should. Or that you're the recipient of that from somebody else, where all of a sudden you realize, wow, this person expected me to do this thing a certain way, and I had no idea that they were actually expecting me to do that. And so bringing these things up to the surface so that you can have, hopefully, a harmonious conversation about it, so it doesn't get into, a blaming, shaming kind of a thing, but where you both just get to bring up to the surface what your expectations are, what your assumptions are. And when you do that, then you can actually have a conversation so that you can come up with an agreement that works for both of you. But if there's these unconscious things that are going on, unconscious contracts, then it's kind of a recipe for disaster, right? Because, that thing about assuming, making an ass of you and me, it happens all the time. And so we need to really be becoming much more aware, much more conscious of that. Just a note that Saturn is still lighting up that gate 13 and will be for some time to come. And that 13 is giving us energetic support for telling the stories and updating our stories so that they really align with what is actually true for us. So you could see how this could provide some support when you're working with our spoken or unspoken agreements and really looking at the story that you might be living inside of or that the other person might be living inside of and helping to unpack that story and then to create a new story which has at the heart of it really a mutually beneficial collaboration or a mutually beneficial agreement that you both can walk away with, or all of you if it's a group of you, so that you know that you're on the same page. And then you have a story to live into and to live by, that you can check whatever decisions you make based on what that agreed upon story and that agreed upon bargain is going forward. All right. Many blessings. Much love. Bye for now.